저 사실 몰라요.
안녕하세요, 스코어 7기 여러분.
우리의 첫 수업 오신 걸 환영합니다.
반갑습니다.
저는 단쌤이고요.
저는 이사은쌤입니다. 오늘은 코딩이 무엇이고 왜 우리가 함께 학습할지 알아보도록 하겠습니다.
단쌤, 코딩이 도대체 무엇인가요?
혹시 단쌤 빌게이츠가 누군지 아시나요?
빌게이츠 알고 있죠. 우리 윈도우즈를 만든 마이크로소프트의 창업자잖아요. 돈도 많고.
맞습니다. 그래서 우리 빌게이츠와 그리고 또 페이스북을 만든 마크 저커버그가 코딩이 무엇이고 왜 배워야 되는지 만든 영상이 있습니다. 한번 같이 볼까요?
네.
What do you want to be when you grow up, Olivia?
An astronaut.
I want to be a fashion designer.
A basketball player.
I want to be an actor.
A doctor.
A teacher.
A chef.
An artist.
What do you want to be when you grow up? A mermaid.
Do you know what a computer programmer is?
Yeah, no.
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 I think it's something that has codes and is able to decode a mystery.
I think that they...
Wait, what?
Computer programmer?
Nowadays, just about everything requires some form of programming. So, what is it? Programming is basically explaining to a computer what you want it to do for you.
When you're programming, you're teaching possibly the stupidest thing in the entire universe, a computer, how to do something.
Programming is one of the only things in the world that you can do where you can sit down and just make something completely new from scratch, whatever you want.
It's really not unlike kind of playing an instrument or something, or playing a sport. It starts out being very intimidating, but you kind of get the hang of it over time.
Coding is something that can be learned, and I know it can be intimidating. A lot of things are intimidating, but what isn't?
A lot of the coding that people do is actually fairly simple. It's more about the process of breaking down problems than sort of coming up with complicated algorithms as people traditionally think about it.
Well, if it's fairly simple, why aren't there more of us doing it? Over the next 10 years, there will be 1.4 million jobs in computer science, and only about 400,000 grads qualified for those jobs. That's a shortage of 1 million people. So, how do you start?
I was obsessed with maps when I was a kid, and cities specifically. So I taught myself how to program. I had a very clear goal of what I wanted to do, which is to see a map of the city on my screen and play with it. Put things on the map, move things around the map. See what was happening in the city, how it worked, how it lived, how it breathed.
The best early thing was actually using software to decide when the classes in my school would meet, and that put me in a position to decide which girls were in my class.
The first program I wrote asked things like, what's your favorite color? Or how old are you?
I first learned how to make a green circle and a red square appear on the screen.
The first time I actually had something come up and say, hello world, and I made a computer do that. It was just astonishing.
When I finally learned a little bit of programming, that blank wall resolved into a bunch of doors, and you open them, and finally you start to open enough doors that the light comes in. And to me, a finished program is like a structure filled with light. All the corners are illuminated. You understand the structure of it. It's a really serene feeling to have completed that.
It took me some time to realize that creating things with your hands or creating code, creating programs is just a different way to express creativity. I think right now there's a big emergence of the culture of making. People who make their own scarves and hats, people who write their own apps.
Now it's just limited by your imagination and sort of what kinds of ideas what kind of understanding can you build into the computers that what kind of understanding can you build into the computers that it can do these things that were previously impossible?
All great things are built in teams when you collaborate with other smart people.
You're testing your ideas, you're stimulating each other. That's what makes us successful. It's not some flash of brilliance by somebody who then codes 24 hours a day for 3 weeks. It's what happened. The magic happens when we're all on the same page, collaborating and building something together.
There's a much greater need in the world for engineers and people who can write code than there will ever be supply. And so we all live these very charmed lives. To get the very best people, we try to make the office as awesome as possible.
We have a fantastic chef,
Free food,
breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
free laundry,
snacks, even places to play and video games and scooters. There's all these kind of interesting things around the office and places where people can play or relax or go to think or play music or be creative.
I went on the Bureau of Labor Statistics for the United States, and there's about a third of the pie that's all the things you would expect. It's, they're working in the government, they're working in typical technology jobs. But then, like, the rest of the pie, and it was the majority of the pie, just split down into these little teeny slices of every industry imaginable. And what it is, computers are everywhere. You want to work in agriculture? Do you want to work in entertainment? Do you want to work in manufacturing? It's just all over.
Here we are, 2013. We all depend on technology to communicate, to bank, information, and none of us know how to read and write code.
So you guys, what else? Who else has an idea of what we can change with our programming? What else can we do? Tiffany? What I saw my students take away from using Scratch and programming in our classroom is that they were willing to push through problems. It really builds critical thinking, it builds problem solving, and it's something that they can then apply to math in the classroom or their reading skills. We integrated science with this programming, and I saw my scores go up 30%.
When I was in school, I was in this after-school group called the Whiz Kids. And when people found out, they laughed at me and, all these things. And I'm like, man, I don't care. I think it's cool. And, I'm learning a lot. And some of my friends have jobs.
It's important for these kids. It should be mandatory to be a citizen on this planet, to read and write code.
I just think you have to start small, right? And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions about computer science and programming overall is that you have to learn this big body of information before you can do anything.
You don't have to be a genius to know how to code. You need to be determined.
Addition, subtraction, that's about it.
You should probably know your multiplication tables.
You don't have to be a genius to code. Do you have to be a genius to read? Do you have to be a genius to do math? No? No?
I think if someone had told me that software is really about humanity, that it's really about helping people by using computer technology, it would have changed my outlook a lot earlier.
Whether you're trying to make a lot of money or whether you just want to change the world, computer programming is an incredibly empowering skill to learn.
To be able to actually come up with an idea and then see it in your hands and then be able to press a button and have it be in millions of people's hands. I think we're the first generation in the world that's really ever had that kind of experience.
The programmers of tomorrow are the wizards of the future. You're going to look like you have magic powers compared to everybody else.
I think it's amazing. I think it's the closest thing we have to a superpower.
Great coders are today's rock stars. That's it.
좋네요. 잘 보셨나요?
네, 재밌게 봤습니다.
혹시 어떠셨어요, 단쌤?
저는 이렇게 월드스타들이 설명해 주니까 감이 오는 것 같기는 한데 그래도 정리가 한번 필요한 것 같습니다.
그러면 저희가 하나씩 영상 내용을 정리를 해볼까요?
좋아요. 일단 저는 대학생 때 코딩을 시작한 분들도 많았지만 빌게이츠처럼 13살부터 코딩을 한 사람들도 많았기 때문에 초, 중, 등 때는 코딩 교육을 시작하기 좋은 나이인 것 같다 이런 생각을 했습니다.
딱 영상 처음에 나온 부분인데 기억력도 굉장히 좋으세요.
감사합니다.
저는 그 다음으로 인상 깊었던 게 코딩을 악기와 스포츠와 같이 차근차근히 그냥 해보는 거다 라고 표현한 게 좋았는데 다들 뭔가 코딩으로 뭐 거대한 거를 만들겠다 이게 아니라 그냥 신기하고 뭔가 만들어보고 싶고 남들을 도와주기 위해서 쉽게 시작을 했다는 점, 그래서 우리도 자신감 가지고 바로 시작해도 된다는 점이 인상 깊었던 것 같습니다.
맞아요. 저는 중간에 코딩하는 사무실이 나왔던 게 인상적이었는데요. 음식도 사무실도 제가 생각했던 회사 이미지와 다르게 되게 멋있고 즐거운 직업이라 생각합니다.
단쌤도 그런 회사가 있다면 가고 싶으신가요?
저는 너무 가고 싶습니다.
마지막으로 저는 이 영상이 무려 8년 전 2013년도 영상인 점이 굉장히 신기했는데 이때도 컴퓨터 코딩 모르면 말이 안 된다 라는 말이 있었는데 하물며 지금은 더욱더 컴퓨터가 우리 삶에 더 많아지고 그래서 어떤 직업을 갖더라도 꼭 코딩은 필요할 것 같아서 앞으로 저와 단쌤이랑 코딩을 함께 더 진행을 해야 된다 라는 점을 알게 되었습니다. 단쌤도 그러면 저희와 스코아와 함께 해주실 건가요?
네, 저는 같이 해보도록 하겠습니다.
이렇게 공증을 받았습니다. 이렇게 오늘 첫 수업으로 코딩이 무엇이고 왜 우리가 함께 배울지 함께 해봤습니다.
첫 수업 잘 따라와줘서 고마워요. 다음 시간에 봐요.
다음 시간에 봐요. 안녕.